In this episode of the Emmett's and ROI podcast, we have Alex Levin. He's the CEO of Regal AI. And I had met with the channel manager. I actually worked with Ashley Bartram over at Nextiva. We reconnected. Now she's over at Regal. So Regal is a B2C. They have a contact center tool set for AI agents, specifically for brands with a high level of competition that need to stand out with personalized customer journeys. Before I get any deeper than that, I'm going to hand it over to Alex to give himself an introduction and a high level on Regal.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So my background originally was as a product manager and as a marketer. And then at the last business, we were in the home services industry. We owned Angie's List and Home Advisor. And as we were growing, I ended up taking more responsibility for the contact center and learned a lot. But, I'd say at the beginning, basically was told, look, the contact center is a cost center. It's about, reducing the cost, treat everybody the same, be really efficient and, get rid of as much of it as possible. And over time, what I learned is that was just wrong. And it's not the right way to look at the contact center. And ultimately, I came to believe that, first of all, it's not a cost center. Like it can be a massive revenue driver, right? Driver of improved customer lifetime value. Second, you shouldn't be trying to treat everybody the same. The whole point is as we get more modern and use technology, we have the advantage of everything we know about customers to personalize or perfect each interaction, whether it's on the website or in an email or in a conversation with your contact center. And last, the goal is not to get rid of every interaction. In fact, as we would get rid of some interactions, it would drive down customer lifetime value. The goal is to actually look at each interaction and decide what the value of that interaction is for the customer and for the brand. And, we were a pretty big contact center. We were, a nice customer and then a just customer. And I tried going to the big CCaaS players and saying, hey, help me build features that we need to build this sort of future contact center. And they basically told me to pound sand. They said, voice is dying. It's a cost center, all the things that I had heard. And so we ended up starting Regal on the premise that there is a need to build the tools for the next generation of contact centers. And we focus a lot on how we use first-party customer data in the contact center. So everything we know about the customer should be included in the same way marketing uses it, we should use it. And second, we want to really take advantage of the advances in AI. Now, over the last 4.5 years or 5 years we've been around, I'd say most of the time it's been about bringing human agents into Regal and amplifying what they can do by being smarter about when we reach out, what we do with inbound, what channel, what messaging, things like that. We've always played around with true autonomous AI agents. And it wasn't until about, say, 9 months ago that those got good enough where we started saying, oh my goodness, this is completely changing. So now our position is basically that 10 years from now, 90% of interactions in the contact center will be autonomous AI agents. And it's just a question of how we make that switch. And so we are particularly proud of our voice agents. So to your point, we work with a lot of industries like healthcare, insurance, lending, local services, education that are more voice-based than retail, for instance. So voice agents are really important. Our AI voice agents are great. I think today, most of our customers move 10 to 20% of their voice volume to AI agents to start the simplest use cases. And every month as new capabilities come out, we go back to customers and say, hey guys, that thing you thought we couldn't do, a human had to do. Well, now guess what? Human doesn't have to do anymore. And so I think all the things that, we do are really focused on that transition from human contact centers to AI agent contact centers, which is going to happen much faster than people think.
Yes, and it's nice to see a platform that's, purpose built for the AI. That's not, an adaptation from a CUC platform. You guys are built on the technology that is centered around, the core offerings that you have. And from the website and conversations I've had, one of the key differentiators that I've seen is the customer journeys and the fact that you have hyper personalization within that, like you said, regardless of which communications channel that you're engaged with. So can you describe customer journeys and the A/B testing and how that benefits your clients?
Sure. Yeah. Back to the point I was making at the beginning, in legacy contact center software, whether it's an IVR for inbound or sort of any kind of outbound campaign management, the base principle is, hey, create this set of things, ding dong, ding, whatever. And people are going to do that. So if it's an outbound, maybe it's called 3 times a day for 3 days. If it's an inbound, maybe it's, hey, first give them the IVR, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for this, and they all do the same. And I understand that 20 or 30 years ago when these CCaaS systems were built, that was state of the art. Oh my goodness. And like, we moved in the cloud. Oh my God. Like, but that's not enough of a value proposition anymore. Customers expect more, and customers, when we interview them, tell us that, it's about 65% of the time businesses mishandle the interactions. So a huge percent of the time, this sort of formulaic way of doing things is resulting in mishandled interactions for outbound and inbound. So to your point, what we've done is first built the ability to sort of connect with all of our customers' data sources. So Roman, the healthcare company, is one of our customers. So all the different healthcare data, all the different sort of website data, all the email data, marketing data, all the CRM data comes into Regal so that we have a full picture of the customer. Not just for the agent to be able to see it, but more importantly, so that systematically, programmatically, we can decide, based on what we know about their health data, when we should be reaching out, about what, in what channel, right? So what, are they looking at a new drug that might have a drug interaction? Are they getting a test that sets off a flag such that a nurse needs to reach out? Like, these are all things we can do very proactively instead of waiting for somebody to inbound. And then if they do inbound and say, oh, like, my foot's not feeling right, I've been taking this drug, how do we handle that inbound? Do we just let them straight through because we know what's going on in their account? Do we push them to a doctor? Do we push them to do something different, right? What channel do we take it on? So all those things can now be handled better because we have the ability to use their data. And specifically, we've built all these interfaces to be drag and drop. So in the old days, when I wanted something changed in the contact center, it was like a 2-week battle with whoever the IT or Eng resources were. They'd go, oh, Alex, it's going to be 2 weeks to send a text message 2 days after instead of 10 days after. And they go, are you sure you want us to do this? I go, guys, I have no idea if this is going to work. Like, how can you ask me if this is going to be better? I don't know if it's worth 2 weeks of work. And so nothing would happen. And the consequence was that a lot of contact centers would stagnate and just leave everything the same because they're so afraid to break things and so aware of the cost of changing it. So what we've tried to do in Regal is to say, you can't be in a system like that. You have to move everything over to a system where continuous improvement, continuous change is just part of what you do. So we allow A/B testing. So, hey, put 10% of the people through this new flow that you've created to see what it is. We allow it to be drag and drop. So you don't need engineering and admin resources. So that's a real change in how contact centers function, which empower them to create better experiences for their customers.
It's super important, the usability of it. Everybody talks about AI, right? But if it's too hard to deploy, then it doesn't really serve a function. If you're not adaptable to the customer's changing needs that we see today, which, as we all know, are rapidly changing and getting more and more high in terms of the expectations. So being able to do that is super important. And I saw you guys do an incredible job with the marketing on the website. And you can actually go to Regal's website and walk through what that looks like in terms of the customer journeys and the IVA, the agent dashboard. So I think you do a great job with that.
Thank you. I mean, to your point on AI agents, just to call it out specifically, like AI agents it's a fascinating situation where it's not software. So a lot of people like think about building AI agents like building software, and they go, oh, an engineer is going to do it. They're going to do it once, and it's just going to like always run the same. No. In fact, an AI agent is much more like a human contact center agent. It takes training, right? It's not deterministic, it's stochastic, meaning every time they have a conversation, it says different things. So you need to have tools to understand what they did and guide them and coach them and improve them. So part of why we think like we're so good at this is that we've built all the tools that contact center needs to create AI agents, test them, make sure they're good, then put them in production, have conversation intelligence and QA scorecards to know what's happening, and continuously iterate. If you go to some random, whether it's OpenAI or a random startup that has a developer tool for AI agents, sure, they might give you a voice, but they don't give you any of the tools that are necessary to actually put this in a production environment for contact centers. The real work is connecting with all your data sources, all the integrations we have, and then having the tools for your managers to actually run AI agents in a way that makes you feel comfortable. The voice itself is not what you should be focused on. You should actually go find a platform that is going to let you do this at scale. The distinction I'm drawing is there's a lot of people I talk to going out there going, oh, I went to OpenAI and I tried their voice, or, oh, I went to X startup you've never heard of and I tried their voice and it was great. Okay, fine. Like, we actually, I think, are better even at that. So I would encourage you to go to our site, to your point, and try our voice AI agents. But that's not enough. You need to then have the tools that allow you to figure out, how do you blend humans and AI? How do you see what's working and not? How do you judge whether the AI agent is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing?
I also learned that you guys are there to support building out these customer journeys, and you have service a wide variety of industries. I would imagine anything that's high customer experience, high customer engagement, highly need for personalization.
Yeah.
But you also have some pre-built customer journeys that you can lend as sort of references and starting points for various different industries. But on day one, you also help build out the entire agent.
We offer free implementation, particularly for the AI agents. I think the big transition is there was a world where companies were saying, oh, we'll build you AI agents in 6 months and it will cost you 500 grand. Forget 6 months. We'll get you live in a day and for free. So, I think the way we're able to do that is because we're on a different infrastructure. It may not be obvious from the outside, but it's a very different infrastructure. We've set up these agents to be able to do the things we need in specific industries. So in local services, we have agents that are the ones that qualify leads and, make appointments. That's a really specific thing that we can have set up in advance. So sure, we need to make sure they know your brand and they know your knowledge base and things like that, but we're all pre-configured. So it's much faster for you to go live.
Yeah, super important again for the ease of implementation. And there was also something else that I learned on my initial call was that you guys have a nice differentiator that's in the contact center space where you're flexible in terms of being able to offer specific services a la carte. So you can support a transition from another CCaaS provider. Maybe they're on, one of the other big names. I don't have to mention the names, but maybe they want to really, really emphasize the customer journey and they want to move over, 500 of the contact center seats for a specific purpose. And then after the contract ends and they're ready to make a full migration, you can then take over the whole end-to-end contact center solution, right?
Yeah, exactly. People are in deals that might be sort of 2, 3, 4 year deals. And so that's fine. Like if they are, we can focus on the areas where we're materially better and say, start using our journey builders, start using our IVR, start using our AI agents, get that advantage. And then as you come off of the contract, like if you want, you can move, your human agents over. I think particularly in the next 10 years, as people get into this mode where they have some AI, autonomous agents and some human agents, it's going to be important to be on platforms that can handle that. So in Regal, we treat human agents and AI agents as equal beings, if you want to call it that. They're both in the queues. Managers can listen and barge into both. The metrics show both of them side by side. So they're not treated as separately. So a lot of people, what they're doing today is they have like a human contact center and then they have the AI contact center and they're completely separate, right? So we don't want that world. You want a world where you can compare them and blend them. And if you don't have enough human agents to handle something, obviously have the AI agents too. If you don't have AI agents that are properly skilled to handle something, maybe it goes to a human agent and vice versa.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is not the idea of an agent assist, which is, we'll call the stock AI contact center that's out there. This is more of a complete blended synergy of the human and the AI combined, which is obviously going to be far more impactful. I do want to talk about, my company name is Emerson ROI for a reason, right? So I want to talk about the ROI aspect. Of course, you have the reduction of the human repetitive tasks like the typical taking payments and scheduling and all that. But I saw some stats there on the website. From an ROI perspective, what is unique about the way, in terms of numbers and outcomes, what you're able to achieve leveraging the Regal platform?
Yeah, I'd say there's sort of 3 different cases we usually talk about with customers. One sort of classically is how can we drive incremental revenue, which is very different than most contact center sort of implementations. Like that's not where they start. But, we really sit down and we say, okay, what is happening? What is the contact center doing? Where are there opportunities for you as a contact center to prove that you can drive revenue? And people go, oh, whoa, that'd be great if I could go to my boss and say I was driving revenue, not just a cost center. And it could be in proactive outbound. It could be in differentiating how you're handling inbound. It could be in cross-sell. So there are all kinds of opportunities for driving incremental revenue. That's 1. 2 is maybe a traditional sort of cost-centered case, which is, hey, you do X, Y, and Z in your contact center. Like, how could we be smarter about handling the IVR, handling outbound, handling whatever to drop costs and, be more efficient. So there are still cases like that. And 3, I'd say now with the AI agents, the majority of the conversations are, around this sort of question of how do I start making that change to AI agents? So, hey, my human agents in the United States cost me $1 to $1.50 per minute of talk time with human talk time, not after call work. Agents in the Philippines might cost 30 cents per minute of talk time with a human. An AI agent today is probably in that sort of 20 to 30 cent range, something like that. Um, and the AI agents continue to come down in cost, and obviously don't have onboarding costs and don't quit, things like that. So I think like that sort of is really on people's minds of like, how do I start thinking about the differing costs of each of these? And hey, if AI agents are better than the human agents or as good, well, then I should trade, the AI agents in. Or if I'm having trouble hiring for certain shifts or certain roles, I should trade the AI agents in. Or, hey, it may be I'm finding that like there's certain very, very repetitive tasks where because my human agents are doing that, it's wasting their time. So I want the AI agents to do that and have the humans do the less repetitive tasks. So now that the cost and the quality of the AI agents are in a place that's really quite interesting, people are starting to find a lot of opportunities. And they start by dipping their toe in, simple scheduling cases, simple inbound sort of triage cases, after, hours cases. Once they see it works, then they get really excited and start pushing further.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is not just a typical inbound customer experience where you're doing a great job, you're providing that sort of, personalized touch coming in, what their last transaction was, and, maybe you're reducing the churn, right? But you're also increasing revenue opportunities. You're also providing the better employee experience because your agents, your human agents, are able to work more efficiently and productively and notably happier because they're able to do a good job. And then you also have the other productivity benefits.
Yeah, or I'll give you like a funny example. Like we were talking with our customers who, to date, anytime people had a certain question about the product that was sold, it's a pretty expensive sort of product. They would send them basically to an IVR and to self-serve because they didn't want to deal with it. And it was, in their mind, they have US-based support, too expensive to send to US-based support. So instead, we're now switching that experience out for an AI agent, which is a fraction of US-based support. The AI agent is handling that question about the product, but taking it as an opportunity to now mention product insurance and mention one or two upsells beyond that. And they're finding that actually not only is it a better experience for the customer because they're not saying, oh, like here's some crazy IVR, go self-serve now. So they're actually like helping the customer get their answer faster. It's leading to incremental revenue because they're selling a product protection plan now. And so that's pretty fascinating how AI agents are allowing them to make a use case conversational that they couldn't before, and turning it into now revenue opportunity.
Yeah, so you're leveling up on the opportunity rather than just passing it off to try to solve it quickly or more easily. You're turning it into a revenue generating opportunity.
Yeah. Historically, like the in contact centers, again, when I was taught, it was like, look, if you're a small business, maybe you can be very high cost, very high quality interactions. And that's what a small business person does. They're just like, they don't sleep. And then there's sort of contact centers, which are kind of medium cost, humans, medium cost, medium experience. And then there's like bots. And like deterministic bots might be very low cost and it's a shitty customer experience, but that's the trade-off. And it's kind of on that line. What AI agents do that's so fascinating is they allow you to create an experience for the customer that is like that small business, meaning they know everything about the customer. They're always available. They're really friendly. They are great, but at a very low cost. Yeah. And so it's completely off of the line that we were on before. So you don't have to make those same trade-offs and say, do I want to give my customer a good experience that's expensive or a bad experience that's cheap? Now you can say, give them a good experience that's cheap.
I like to use the line, the small town customer service in the big world of business. And that's how you win loyalty. That's how you win customers. Yeah. But I know you mentioned SMBs and we have just a few minutes. I thank you for the time you were able to lend. I know you're super busy. What industries are you playing in specifically that you do really, really well in? Where should your partners be aiming? Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we work in the more considered or more complicated consumer industries. So basically like not retail is the way I sometimes explain it. So like in retail, basically it's gotten all self-serve and all like very simplified. We work in the other half of the consumer economy. So healthcare, insurance, lending, home services, education. So that's sort of, if retail is half, like this is the other half. And in these industries, there's much more customer data. Voice is much more important. It's the personal touch is more important. The customer value is higher, so you can afford to do more interesting things. And really, like they've been badly served by the CCaaS platforms that were built for the contact center as a retail cost center world. The sort of, hey, eliminate all interaction world. Like, the treat everybody the same world. Like those legacy CCaaS platforms are not well suited to these industries like, I don't know, what's a good example of a customer now? Like in education, we have a lot of very sophisticated education customers where that's a very emotional decision for people. It happens over 9 months. It's considered, you have a very deep connection with your alma mater ultimately. And it's not something where they just want to treat everybody the same, put it through the ringer. They really do care about each and every touch point.
Yeah, these are areas where the personalization for like intimate and sentimental, the sensitive conversations, things that are more in depth, like, applying for a loan, talking about things that are going to impact your life rather than talking about perhaps, like you said, retail. Maybe you're calling into like an Eddie Bauer. Not that they can't use the platform, but it's not your target because, talking about a product is a little bit different than talking about a major life decision that's going to have, real world consequences on your future. But listen, I know we're coming up on time here. I really appreciate your time coming on. I love learning about Regal. Is there anything you want to close us out with in the last 2 minutes?
Nope. Appreciate the time.
All right. Well, awesome. Thanks a lot, Alex.
Thank you.